So if you don't know, I had uploaded a video on my channel recently where I triggered the opening cutscene of the game during the Dark Beast Ganon fight for Breath of the Wild. I did this by combining the opening cutscene skip glitch with the out of bounds glitch for the final boss. After uploading that video, I decided to go back and fool around with the opening cutscene a bit. So I did what any responsible hero would do and bomb arrowed my way to death. I then respawned at the Dark Beast Ganon fight. Now, starting off, let me just explain how the out of bounds glitch works in the game so you can further understand how crazy the thing I'm about to show you is. When the Dark Beast Ganon portion of the battle begins, you are trapped in an energy field serving as the border of the arena. Using a trick involving a horse, you can easily clip out of bounds and can explore all of Hyrule. However, the moment you start exploring, you realize that something isn't quite right with the world. All NPCs and enemies are despawned, not including the ones that have a random encounter in the field. This means that roaming NPCs and enemies such as Choo-Choos and the Yiga Clan will still spawn. Shrines are also invisible, however their hitboxes are still present. Towers will still appear, however parts of them are unloaded. There is a way to allow the game to save again so you can teleport, use campfires, etc. However, because all the NPCs and enemies' shrines are gone, it pretty much ruins your save file. However, with this glitch, there may be a way around that. So, just like the first time, I once again went out of bounds. I made my way to the Great Plateau in order to mess around with the opening cutscene again. I did a Korok puzzle because, why not, and then noticed the first odd thing with the world. There were horses. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they don't spawn at all during the final boss. But I wasn't sure, so I just disregarded it. While I didn't find that weird, the next thing that happened was very odd. I saw a shrine. And yeah, you might be thinking, why is it strange? They are everywhere in the world. In which, yes, you are right. But the problem is that, well, I saw it. They should all be invisible. So I tried to go inside of it, but the game didn't let me. That part didn't really surprise me. The exact same applies to campfires. And then I turned around and saw the tower. It was strange because it looked completely normal. I went to it and climbed to the top. And just like I suspected, nothing was unloaded. Even though this was not normal at all, I just came to the conclusion that all shrines and towers unloaded except for the Great Plateau for some reason. After that, I made my way to the Shrine of Resurrection. Here's where my jaw finally drops. I approached an enemy camp, and there were bokoblins sitting there. Let me remind you, these guys are supposed to have despawned at the final fight. I then proceeded to another camp a bit further off, and lo and behold, bokoblins were also present at that location. I then proceeded to kill them with my light bow, which, by the way, is really fun to do. And like usual, the chest opened and I got my reward. So after this, I had an idea. There was a stable in Colosseum ruins close by, so I headed in that direction to check it out. I wanted to see if both Linnels and NPCs were present. I climbed all the way up to the ruins because there is an NPC that stays there the whole game. And believe it or not, there he was. I could talk to him, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. I was shocked to say the least. If this guy was here, then does that mean every NPC is still in the world? I then checked on the Linnel, and as I guessed at this point, he indeed was present at the spawn point. After that, I proceeded in completely destroying him with my Power 100 light bow. I traveled to the stable close by, and every single NPC was there. I even picked up some side quests from them. Remember, I technically still can't save, so I was fine to explore as much as I wanted. Because my horse was still stuck in the boss fight, I got the stable guys to retrieve him. How could they do something like that? I have no clue. So Chocolate and I were now ready to do some exploring. And yes, I tried activating the shrine close to the stable, and once again, I could do nothing. Something that was interesting, however, is that no decayed guardians were present by the central tower. This does make sense, since by default the game would despawn enemies somewhat close to the final boss arena. After that, I decided to do something that I knew you guys would want me to do. I found some guardians. Yes, even these guys are still around to ruin your day. I then proceeded to do what everyone has ever wanted to do and destroy them with my light bow. Oh yeah, and Chocolate died. That was unfortunate, and totally not my fault. Don't worry though, he was avenged. I then found out that the light bow is pretty OP. I mean, look at this. I'm dodging these two guardians like a boss and completely murdering them all. Also, this scene is hilarious because this one guardian completely blasts his friend. This has nothing to do with the video, I just thought it was really funny. I soon found a new replacement horse and started making my way to Kakariko Village. As I traveled there, everything seemed to be normal. Enemies were spawned, and nothing strange had occurred. It's like the game had completely ignored the fact that I was in the final boss. So I finally got to Kakariko Village. I talked to Paya, and then went inside Impa's house and activated the cutscene with her. Just like it would normally, the music faded out and the cutscene with her played.
So, you're finally awake.
After it was done, the boss music just simply started back up.
Prepare yourself, Link.
Now, at this point, I had wanted to try something. Obviously, I can't pass time at the campfire since the game prevents me from interacting with it, but because NPCs still exist, I went to the inn and forced the game to pass time. First of all, when I woke up, the final boss just stopped. The normal Kakariko music played, and there was no boss tag. I still couldn't save though. And you might notice how even though I set it to wake me up at night, it's still daytime. That has to do with the opening cutscene skip glitch. Until you trigger it, the game will always be stuck in the morning. I then traveled back towards the boss, and not to my surprise, it started back up again. Oh yeah, fairy fountains also despawned during the final boss, but like the shrines and towers, they were there. I was even able to pay the lady and activate the short cutscene, but like before, the game played like normally. It was honestly bizarre. The final boss was technically happening, but I could just play the game normally during the battle. After that, I ran into a Yiga dude and completely wrecked him with my light bow. It was pretty hilarious. At this point, I was around an hour into playing, and wanted to finish off this session by heading to Hyrule Castle. You know how if you go there during the Dark Beast Ganon fight and trigger the final boss cutscene again, he will not be there? Well, since I'm on a file in which I would need to fight the blights first, I thought the same thing might happen with them. And then, it happened. I triggered a blood moon glitch. I was worried at this point. Let me explain why. The blood moon glitch is where a blood moon will randomly occur, even during the daytime. From what I hear, it happens so that the game doesn't crash by resetting all enemies and items, etc. It makes sense when you think about it. Now, the last time this happened during an out of bounds playthrough, it sent me back to before the boss fight. I believe it did this because the game had tried to respawn all the enemies. However, since during the final boss they are all despawned, it screwed with the game and just reset my file back to before the fight. I was sure that this was gonna be the end. But then something crazy happened. I was still at my location with the final boss going on. This means that the game never tried to despawn the shrines and enemies in the first place, which was pretty cool. So I went to Hyrule Castle and as expected, all the enemies were there. I then proceeded inside the boss chamber. Bad news, the blights still spawn and nothing cool happened. Good news, this happened. Yeah, that's right. You can fight the blights while standing on the hole that Link falls through before the Calamity Ganon fight. I was blown away at this because originally you would go straight down to the boss's chamber, but since you fight all the blights up here first, I got a really cool view. And this honestly opens up some hilarious possibilities. Starting off, you can bring items like chests into the boss room, and they will stay there. However, when fighting Calamity Ganon, they stay at the top. So by doing this, you could bring a bunch of different stuff into the blight fights. I definitely will be fooling around with this in a video, so stay tuned for that. Anyways, I decided to fight the blights with my new overpowered bow. I wanted to see if Calamity Ganon would still be invisible. The first 3 were easy, but I had to give up on Thunderblight. I ran out of melee weapons, and his boss fight makes the light bow kind of useless. And that's all I have to share. Now, why is this a big deal? Well, like I said, if you saved during the fight originally, you would be stuck in a world where you pretty much ruined your save. NPCs, monsters, shrines, and towers wouldn't exist. However, if a person theoretically did this glitch and then enabled saving, you could have a normal file where you have the final boss always active. I still need to do some testing, however, to confirm this. Let me go over the pros and cons of doing this if it worked. Pros. You can have a really overpowered bow and still play the game normally. Because no nighttime ever occurs, you wouldn't need to worry about style enemies or blood moons, unless they are glitched. And because the weather never changes, you don't have to deal with rain. Excluding areas like Zora's Domain, of course, since the game forces it to rain there unless you have beaten Varuta. Cons. You'll get sick of that final boss theme very quickly. You'll also be stuck for forever in the final boss. There is also a chance that you would never be able to fight Calamity Ganon again on this file. And finally, I still haven't tested everything, so there is a chance that something will still make the file unplayable. As far as testing goes, I got a lot of interesting ideas and I'm excited to make videos of them. One of the things I'm going to do first is complete Divine Beast dungeon while the final boss is happening. Maybe I'll find something interesting while doing that. So that's it. I thought this video was going to be quick, but there was so much to cover. I'm so glad I did it though, as I am pretty sure I'm the very first person to discover this. Make sure to share it with your friends, and if you want to see more, then subscribe. I've been Nintendo Black Crisis, and I will see you later.